Hi, I'm Doug Chang, co-production designer of Rogue One. These images I'd like to show you are early vehicle designs that we were working on for what eventually became Jyn ship. What's fascinating for me about Star Wars ship design is that they're very iconic and they're very challenging as well. I love drawing spaceships, but I also find them to be the most challenging to design for several reasons. One, you're really trying to create something that's very memorable. Two, you're trying to create something that's functionally can work cinematically and actually supports the story. Gareth has set the bar very high. He wanted us to create a design that was as memorable as the Millennium Falcon or the X-Wing. And for me, in my view, those are perfect designs. There's not a thing on them that I would change. And so when Gareth set the bar that high, it was quite a tall order to fill. One of the things that we started to do was to really work out really quick sketches to get down to the core essence of what is the shape of the vehicle. And so we gave a task early on to all the artists that you basically had 1 or 2 minutes to design a ship. And we basically just had 2 full days of blitzing as many different forms as possible. And then Gareth would come in and pick his favorite designs. And these were our quick studies to try to find the shape. And very quickly we realized that there were certain shapes that spoke to all of us, and Gareth especially. And he loved the idea of 2 pontoons kind of connected together. At this point, Jyn's ship was going to be a bigger transport, and we really were exploring ideas of, okay, well, what should this vehicle be? How can it function? What is its purpose? And what was great was that when we showed these to Gareth, he was already thinking about how to shoot this scene. And so one idea was that the cockpit would be on one pontoon and there'll be a crew on the other side. The ship itself was probably quite a bit larger than what you ultimately see in Rogue One. It was about Millennium Falcon size. It was working. Emotionally, it was working, but it wasn't quite capturing the spirit of the look. And what we did was we actually put these designs next to an X-Wing, and our reality check was, can this ship actually exist in the same universe? And the answer, unfortunately, was no. And so what we discovered is that we had to go back to the drawing board and really find the right level of detail using this configuration to make sure that it fits within the Star Wars universe. In a lot of the early exploration, Gareth always gravitated towards this idea of 2 outstretched wings. And for him, it had a strong personality of Superman, and he described it as he sees it as a vehicle like Superman flying with his wings outstretched. It gave it a lot of forward momentum, a lot of angular direction, and visually it was just a striking image. As the story evolved, the brief became that Jyn's ship was going to be our Huey helicopter version of an X-Wing. And using the helicopter motif, we realized, okay, well, maybe graphically, the wings should be above and the body should be hung below, so that when we see it as a logo or as a symbol, we kind of know graphically what it is, what it's supposed to do. In total, we did about 781 individual designs to finally lock the design. Towards the end of the design cycle, we actually decided that maybe we should put in more X-Wing features. And so we took the X-Wing engines and literally mounted onto the configuration that we had going. And there was something that really started to work. We knew that we had something special. It really spoke to all of us. It started to feel very Star Wars, and yet it was very new. One of the challenges of actually designing a ship is when you're in the final phases of refinement, any little changes that you do affects another piece. And so this is where we started to work in minutia in terms of how big should the engine be, where should it be, how long should the wings be, how wide should the body be. And we chased this over and over because when you come up with an ideal version that looks great from the top, you find out that the bottom view looks ugly. And then you modify the bottom view and you find out that it transforms the top view. And so it's this very organic process where as you're finding the final design, you're really kind of sculpting it almost organically. After 781 drawings, we actually had the final design that Gareth was happy with. And I have to say I'm very proud of the design overall. There's not a thing on it that I would change.